All right, welcome back to Gear Talk and Noria podcast, where we are connecting reliability professionals with reliable information. I am your host, Wes Cash, and today we have Sheila from the Tulsa Port of Catoosa with us, or the Tulsa Ports, and we're going to be talking about the workforce. Now, an important part of this podcast is, of course, to understand the individuals. So, Sheila, first and foremost, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
And why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself?
Sure. My name's Sheila Shook. My title for the Port Authority is Director of Workforce and Education. Kind of an interesting title for a Port Authority. A big part of what I do is work with the companies that are located in the port to help them find employees that they're looking for today. And then that education piece comes where we're planning for that future, doing training programs, getting trainings embedded in our high schools, internships, things like that. So that's a big part of what I do. Another part of my job is just promoting the port and the waterway, helping people learn a little bit more about who we are and what we are. So we are a 2,500 acre industrial park and river port. Yes, water transportation.
I was going to say, more interesting than your title, people would be thinking a port in Tulsa,
a
Oklahoma
port
doesn't
in Oklahoma.
usually work.
That's right, ports in Oklahoma. So the McClellan-Kerr Arkansas River Navigation System runs 445 miles from the Tulsa Port of Catoosa to the Mississippi River. So we have access basically to the country, to the Gulf, to the world by
That's
water
right.
in landlocked Oklahoma. So it's a very exciting part of what we do. River transportation is very environmentally friendly naturally and economical. So that helps shippers, helps save money. It is truck, rail, and barge all working together there at the port. So we need all modes of transportation. But in our 2,500 acre industrial park, we have over 50 different companies. Most of those companies are in some type of manufacturing or manufacturing support. So I help promote those careers in manufacturing.
And of course, that is so in line with our heartbeat here at Noria. Of course, we focus in lubrication and machine reliability, and education is very much part of what we do. And we go out, manufacturers across the globe, and they're all, kind of looking at the same struggles as it comes to their workforce, finding skilled people and stuff like that. And I know something you're passionate about. You talk about barriers to entry or barriers in the workforce. Why don't you kind of lay it out for us? When we say barrier, what does that mean to us?
Oh yeah. So a lot of times I hear comments like people should just get a job, right? Go get a job, just get a job. It sounds very simple, but there's a lot of barriers for people. Things like transportation. We don't have a lot of public transportation access here in Oklahoma.
Sure.
If you don't have a driver's license, you don't have a vehicle, a reliable vehicle, you can afford to have insurance on, pay for fuel, maintenance, those kinds of things. Transportation is a huge barrier.
Sure.
Other barriers, unfortunately, we have a lot of people in Oklahoma who have been justice involved, so they may have something in their background that can prevent them from being hired. We also see a lot of people that struggle to pass that drug test.
Gotcha.
We have laws in Oklahoma that are confusing for people. Yes, we do have medical marijuana cards available here, which can be great for some people for things, but that can be a barrier. You cannot go to work at a manufacturing facility if you can't pass a drug test, medical card or not.
That's right. Safety sensitive
Safety,
job.
absolutely. And that's hard for people to understand, but it's reality. Safety has to be first, and especially in manufacturing. We want people to be safe. So that can be a barrier. Just lack of information. Nobody grows up with people saying, you need to grow up and be in manufacturing, right? I mean, we tell them to be doctors and lawyers and you can be the president, or maybe they grow up to want to be what they see right in front of them. They may not see manufacturing right in front of them, even though it's everywhere.
It's got an image problem.
It does have an image problem, right? It's for those people, or it's dirty, or it's too hard, things like that, which I could talk about that all day long, about what manufacturing actually is today. And I know you guys know all about that, right? if there weren't so many machines involved, you probably wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
That's right.
So us operating those machines as people, that makes manufacturing a totally different situation than it was at the turn of the century or in the Industrial Revolution.
Sure.
We say all the time, it's not your grandfather's manufacturing. We talk a lot about that.
Oh, it's sophisticated. There's a lot of technology that goes with it. I mean, some people are fascinated the fact that even plant level people, and let's call it frontline staff, have to understand some level of computer coding to do their job. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think we're peeling the curtain back.
Let's be able to read a tape measure.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
mean, sometimes a 5th grade level math test can be a barrier.
Sure.
So, there are jobs available. There are people looking for jobs. Getting those two things together is difficult a lot of times.
So in your role, working with, you said 50-something manufacturers or something like that?
We've got over 50 companies. There's, I think, right at 35 that are specifically manufacturing, yes.
So as you're working with these people, do they come to you with problems basically saying, we've had openings and we're having problems filling them, and they lean on you to say, how can we get people in the door? Is that
sure,
how it typically works?
Yes, I consider myself a little bit like air traffic control, where I'm a connector.
You're directing
I'm leading
here.
you need to talk to this person, that person needs to talk to that person. I really started to lean heavily on our website, tulsaports.com. When you go to the website and you click on careers and education, when people submit through that comes to my email inbox.
Okay.
So I'm answering those directly. So if someone submits a resume that says they're a welder, well, I know what companies are hiring welders.
Sure.
If they say, they're an engineer or they're this or that, sometimes I get them that say, I'm a hard worker. Well, I know who's going to hire you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm connecting people directly with that information. There was a time when we tried to list everybody's job openings. That is a nightmare. It is very difficult to keep up with.
It's probably dynamic, yeah. It changes a lot.
Yes, and then changing a website all the time is not simple, especially for someone like me who's not a computer wizard, not doing that. So directly connecting with people, that's really how I can be helpful. I'm checking in with the companies all the time about their openings. I know what they are, what they're looking for, talking to those HR managers, making sure that we're promoting those jobs. And so doing that directly for people, giving them links. I don't know if I haven't looked for a job in a long time, but if you try to look for a job on your phone, that can be very difficult. If that's your only source of research, you might not know if there's a company at the port that isn't locally owned, they're owned out of another country. You wouldn't know that you need to click on something called Tulsa Suburb in their website to find their job openings at the Tulsa Port of Catoosa. So being able to give them that direct link and avoid a lot of that confusion gives them more access. So that's really how I'm connecting people.
Sure.
But then I'm out in the communities, going to the job fairs, meeting people in the schools, things like that. And then I also provide training programs. Companies have worked with us along with Tulsa Technology Center to create those entry-level training programs. We mentioned it already. Safety is number one. They want people to have that OSHA training right up front if they can. So providing training, entry-level training, and then connecting those people to companies is a big part of what I'm doing.
Is there, with this Tulsa Tech, is there skills training, I'm assuming, that goes with this as
well? Sure, absolutely, yes. The entry-level training I do, they get some intro to shop math. They get a little bit of a little bit of forklift, a little bit of hand tools, just an entry level for a lot of that. And what I like to do with that is find students that have just graduated high school that really aren't sure what is my next step. College is not an option. I need to get in the workforce. And then also people that are what we would call underemployed, right? So if you're working in fast food or retail, you might not be getting that full 40-hour-a-week pay. You probably don't have health insurance or any kind of retirement plan or any kind of benefits. Going to work in a manufacturing facility, that's a career. That's an opportunity to actually change your life and plan for your future. And so trying to help people who are kind of stuck in that mode, how do I help you move into a career in manufacturing? Nothing wrong with working in retail or fast food, but not everybody who works there is a full-time employee with benefits. So we want to help get those people to that level.
So are you dealing mainly with your manufacturers and companies out there at the ports, mainly the HR side of things to get maybe finding the people, tap into the community, or is that across all titles, all functions?
I was going to say, yeah, I connect with all different levels. There are a lot of companies at the port that have direct HR people.
Okay.
There are some of them that don't have an HR person. Their plant manager is taking care of all of that. Or maybe they have someone in a different state that takes care of that, but on site I'm working with the plant manager. So really anybody who wants to connect with me out there to help promote their jobs is who I'm working with. I have a lot of companies that are willing to bring students in and do tours. If you've never been in a manufacturing facility, you're probably not going to aspire to go to work in manufacturing because you don't know what to expect.
Right.
So getting those, even middle school students, yes, they trust me enough to bring middle school students out, and we're very careful with that. Obviously, we're very cautious about that, but we want them to see it because if they're in middle school, it's time to start thinking about: do I want to go to tech? What kind of program do I want to get in? Am I going to have to get a job as soon as I get out of high school? What are my choices? Do I want to be an engineer? Do I want to be a welder? But if you've never seen what that might look like, you're not going to think about that. You're only thinking about what you know.
And I love this idea, right? Because not everyone has a Sheila out there, right? not everyone has someone they can lean on for this. So if I'm thinking of myself as a manufacturer, and especially if let's say I'm in HR, maybe I'm just in management, saying how can I maybe appeal to people that otherwise we wouldn't have heard from. Is that something, that is a program that could be established? I think that's fantastic. You're going into the schools, you're trying to, bring them in and do a plant tour or a field day or something like that. I love that idea. What are some of the other ways that you kind of, connect people that are looking, and of course your companies that you're working with? So obviously we're bringing people in, you're getting them some level of training, which I'm assuming that the companies have kind of told you, what kind of skills we're looking for. Did you construct that yourself, or?
Well, not myself. Again, I'm a connector. Remember,
Sure.
I connect people.
Yeah.
I got managers in the room from our port companies with Tulsa Technology Center and their curriculum people, and we sat together and said, what do you need, right?
Yeah.
I know people are looking for jobs. I know you need jobs. What do you need these people to know? What do you need them to have? Well, of course, safety. OSHA came up number one,
Sure.
right? That was number one. We'd like for them to have first aid and CPR. Yeah, that would be great. We'd like for them to know a little bit of shop math, right?
Yeah.
We'd like for them to know a little bit of blueprint reading. We'd like for them to have these things. So that's how what we call port ability.
Yeah.
Yes, we like catchy names. I
Well
give my
done.
port director credit for that fun name. So we call it port ability, and it is an entry level. It's a 40-hour training. We do it over 3 weeks.
Okay.
We also add in some resume building and some soft skill training or employability skills, interview skills, things like that. On the last day of that training, then we have companies that are there to do interviews, what I kind of call a little bit of speed dating interviews there on that last day. They're rotating through.
It's almost a placement program.
It's a placement program, yes. And so we just finished up a class, portability, and we got almost everyone placed. There were a couple with a couple of barriers that didn't quite, we're still working with them.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep working with them. I tell my students all the time, it's not, the last day of class is not the last day with me. So I'm trying to help them find what works for them. And then publicly, I host job fairs there at the port. We're going out in the community to be at job fairs. Career fairs, there is a difference, right?
Sure.
So working with like OESC, with the state, those are job fairs. Like we need to be there for here's how you get a job. Career fairs, we're in schools all the time at their career fairs. Hey, did you know? And a lot of my companies will go with me, have their own tables and things promoting those, which is great. So I'm always promoting all the companies at the port, but then when they come out and they're promoting their own jobs, they're going to get a little bit more recognition.
Oh, of course, right?
So,
get your brand out in front of them.
Absolutely.
How many of these port ability courses do you do in over a year?
Right now, I've been doing 2 a year.
2 a year?
I could increase that if I had more interest. I will tell you, even though it's a free training, it is difficult to fill the class.
Okay.
This last class, we had 23 sign up. I was very excited about that. We had 12 that took the class.
I got you.
So again, we're right back to barriers, right?
Sure.
You're going to have to get to the class. You're going to have to get from the class. I need you to be able to get to the port. That's part of the training, right?
Sure.
Unfortunately, I don't have a transportation option yet. It
Mm-hmm.
is something I'm working on all the time, trying to figure out what is the solution. If I had all the money in the world and I could spend it any way I wanted, I could fix the problem, but unfortunately I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm working with partners. How do we get a real solution for people? Micro transit or transportation like an Uber or a Lyft is what's needed.
Yeah.
But if you call up an Uber and you're in North Tulsa and you want to get to the port, it's going to cost you about $40 one way.
Yeah.
If you can get an Uber to come get you.
Right.
That's one way. Well, if you're in an entry-level job, yeah, you're starting out at a pretty decent wage, but you're going to lose half of that in a day just trying to get there. How do you save money to get that car, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at some sort of microtransit that is affordable. So it's going to have to be subsidized. We're going to have to get public transportation involved. We're going to have to get companies involved, right? Looking at ride share, things like that. Just a bus out to the port, that's not going to solve the problem.
Right.
We have a 2,500 acre industrial park.
Yeah.
I can't just have you dropping people
One-
off
one
at
stop.
the gate. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. We're a huge facility. And then each one of those companies, they're going to run different shifts, different days, times, things like that. So a bus route, that's just not the answer. It sounds lovely. People say, well, why don't you just get them to get a bus route? Yes, I never thought of that. No, it's not. It's
You got
not
to
as,
do more than that.
we need a little more than that. And so working with partners in the area, constantly having this conversation of how do we do that. Also, for young people, it's an odd trend, but we don't have a lot of young people in the Tulsa area getting driver's license.
Oh, so not driving themselves at this point.
And we used to have driver's ed in our public schools. We don't really have that much anymore. Some schools are still choosing to do it, but a lot of them are not. And if you don't have the support at home, or if mom or dad or grandma or whoever I'm living with doesn't have transportation, how am I going to learn to drive, right? And in Oklahoma, you got to drive right now. We just don't have that system.
Sure.
And so I have helped students get their driver's license.
Do you see any companies getting more and more creative, going to these lengths, or is that mostly
I think
on you?
right now they're supporting the things that I'm doing.
Gotcha.
I don't see a lot of them doing that on their own yet.
Yeah.
Maybe they will in the future. But they're definitely supportive of what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
will say that. And they're excited to do that. Now, a little bit about the Port Authority. We're technically a state agency, non-appropriated. We do not get state funding. The Port Authority owns the land in Catoosa. The companies that are there are leasing the land from us. That's
Okay.
half of our income.
Gotcha.
That's why
Lease
those
agreements.
companies are so important to me.
Yeah.
They basically pay my salary,
bills.
right? So that's important. Now, as we continue to grow these and we find ways that work, I think then we get more and more support.
Yes.
I've got companies that are supporting those tours. They're going to career fairs. They're getting their name out. They're putting their banners in manufacturing classes through tech and high schools. Because again, if I've never heard of these companies, I'm not going to aspire to go work there. Right? If you see a McDonald's, then you know what that is, and that might be what you aspire to do because it's right in front of you.
Right, but you're having to play on both sides of the fence here, because you're having to attract companies to come and lease ground. Let's say that you're selling real estate at this point, so they're leasing the area, but you're also enticing them, saying, "Hey, we've got programs in place to help fill the coffers of your employment.
Yeah.
We've got a skilled workforce. We've got these programs in place to kind of bring them from zero to hero, if you will." And now it sounds like you're tying up some of these other loose ends. Maybe it's transportation stuff, and obviously I think that's fantastic. I know that you've got some real exciting news here about Tulsa ports here pretty soon, right?
Yes, we were able to have a very big announcement. So in 2019, the Port Authority obtained an additional 2,000 acres of land in Inola, Oklahoma, also on the navigation system on the Verdigris River. So we have been promoting that. Essentially, we're an economic development organization. That's really what we've always done for more than 50 years.
Sure.
And so we were very excited to obtain that land and start to promote that land to companies looking. So most companies today are looking for hundreds of contiguous acres to build their manufacturing facilities.
Sure.
We don't have that in Catoosa. We are essentially full. We have smaller pieces of land, but nothing like what was being looked for. And so Inola became very important to us. So we just announced EGA will be building their aluminum plant there in Inola, Oklahoma. They will be a river user, so that helps sustain our river transportation. And then they're bringing 1,000 direct jobs.
Yeah, fantastic.
So we're very excited about that. That is probably about 5 years out. Somewhere around there. I was just talking to students earlier today that are in a manufacturing engineering program at Tulsa Community College.
Yeah.
So when I told them, they're just getting started. So
Perfect
I told
timing,
them
right?
5 years out, guys, who am I looking for, right? Whose resumes am I going to be looking for? And they said, us? Yes, you, right? I tell students all the time, these companies, they have jobs that are going to be coming. We have average age of manufacturing worker in the United States. A lot of them are getting close to retirement age, right?
They call it the silver tsunami.
Right,
People are
exactly.
leaving.
So I say to students all the time, who's going to fill those jobs? Us? Yes, you. I need you, right? We do have people that are looking for jobs today, and we do have people we can train. That's great. But when we think about growth in Oklahoma and the things that are happening at Mid-America Industrial Park with us in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, Grove, Oklahoma, look at all the manufacturing that is happening. We know we have to sustain. Now, I'm very excited about our new company. I'm also concerned at the same time about how do I help my current companies sustain their workers, right? So we talk a lot about what are you doing to keep your people, right? It's not just about that dollar per hour. It's not just about that paycheck. What kind of culture are you providing? What's important to your workers? What can you provide as the manufacturer to keep those people? It's on you.
Yeah, I saw in a survey that one of the top 5 items that is attracting recent college graduates and high school graduates is a sustainability effort. So what are you doing in terms of your community and sustaining the environment? So
exactly. Find out what's important to your people. Now, this is going to sound a little bit silly as a as a benefit for a manufacturing company. But if you think about people and working in an environment that, as a welder, this is a company that is building pressure vessels. It's not climate controlled. A lot of welders, right? It gets very hot in Oklahoma. You've worked your week, your full week, you're hot, you're tired. Last thing you want to do on a Saturday morning or your day off is to head to the barber shop. But you got to keep your hair cut, right? Sounds silly. They put a room in their office building. They're connected to their manufacturing facility. They have a barber chair there. They contract with a barber college that comes in and does haircuts. Now, it sounds like a very simple thing, right? But that was finding out something that was an issue for their people.
I feel like my wife put you up to this because she has said I need a haircut.
Oh,
so.
No.
But you have to get creative.
Right, exactly. Find out what is important to them, right? Yeah. Is it T-shirts? Is it meals? Is it, feeling heard?
Right.
Building teams? What can and a lot of times I get people that are probably my age and older that would say, well, they just need to come to work and do their job and get paid and go home. That's what I did. That's what he did. I'm sorry, it's 2025 and you are dealing with generations who expect more. Yeah. And I think they deserve more. I think everyone deserves a work-life balance. Yes, we want people to work hard, but usually the better you're treated, the more you feel valued, the harder you're going to work.
The more engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Sheila, I've loved our conversation. Unfortunately, we're kind of running low on time here. I want to be a good host, so I want to give you the last word. So if you're talking to any company out there, giving some sage advice from your history and kind of seeing what's going on there, what would you tell people to do? They're looking for people. They're looking for mechanics. They're looking for frontline staff, engineers. Everyone. What would you tell them?
Get involved. Get involved. Get your name out there. Get involved. Get involved in your community, with your schools, just your tech programs, your colleges. Get involved at every level. Get your name out there. If you can support your chamber, Get your name at the luncheon, support a chamber lunch. Do those things in your community to get your name out there. If anybody has any questions about what I do, how I do it, why I do it, tulsaports.com, staff, I'm there. You're going to find me. We've got lots of videos about the port and the waterway. I have some videos I was able to do in manufacturing facilities, so you can see some of those. But I would love for people to reach out and ask what all I'm doing and how I got it started and who I'm working with.
Awesome. I have a feeling that you'll probably get some people reaching out to you.
That would be great. That would be great.
Sheila, hopefully, in the near future we can have you back, especially as we talk about, businesses ramping up out there. I mean, I'd love to hear what's going on, but definitely appreciate you swinging by. And for everyone else, thank you for joining us here on Gear Talk. As always, please like and subscribe. That helps us out. And if you have any questions, comments, ideas on topics that you'd like us to discuss, you can always email us at podcast@noria.com. I always appreciate those emails. And as for me, I'm Wes Cash, and we'll catch you here on the next episode of Gear Talk.